I kind of want to briefly talk about, ask about your commentary career, because my earliest memory of you is obviously not as a player, but as someone who I've seen during games on air as a commentator. And for us cricket fans, one of our favorite pastimes when we're watching these games on TV is to critique the commentators. There are few commentators who command widespread respect due to the understanding of the game and just their analytical skills. But for the most part, I feel that a lot of commentators don't do any basic research about the teams that they are commentating on, or they spend more time talking about the good old days, the glory days. And I'm just curious, as a commentator, uh, how did you approach your role? Are we being unfair by expecting commentators to know everything about the game in the modern era?
You know, let me tell you one thing, Benny, that no, one thing, I'll tell you two, three things. The commentator knows everything about the game
Okay.
because he's got 20/20 vision and he's the hindsight. He's always talking after the event has occurred. Yeah,
Yeah.
most times. And secondly, we're talking about preparation and knowledge of teams and all that. We have with us um, a battery of stats guys
Right.
who are feeding us information regarding every aspect of the current player of the opposition team. Whatever I want, I get. I don't have to prepare. I've got it.
Hmm.
He gives it to me. I suddenly ask, I want to make a comment on Rahul Dravid in Ahmedabad in 1993. And he'll tell me, he did this and he did that and he was dropped twice and he was this and on that thing. So I asked him, he says, give me 30 seconds and it's been pulled out from the computer and I've got it and he's given me the slip right there. And then I'm talking very knowledgeably about Rahul Dravid. So, uh, yes, you have to have a certain kind of preparation, but 90% is fed. We don't have to make any prior preparation. Secondly, how I approached my commentary was, I wanted to be very instinctive rather than prepared. Because once you're prepared about a certain aspect of the game, of course it helps. But then, you're always looking for an opportunity of somehow impressing the viewers about your knowledge of your preparation. So you're trying to stuff in things all the time, and then you get carried away with it. So, one, it has to be instinctive and it has to be your own, to the extent that, I'm doing commentary with a team of commentators who are way, way more accomplished than you in their cricketing career. Let's say I'm doing commentary with an Ian Chappell. Along with him is a Tony Gregg. Along with him is a Sunil Gavaskar. And then there's a puny Arun Lal. Now, when I'm going to do commentary, what I did was, suppose Gregg and Gavaskar are doing commentary and I'm due to comment next. I made it a point not to hear what they were saying, because I would get so colored and influenced by them that I would be parroting them and agreeing with whatever else they said. So it was impossible for me to say I don't agree here, So it was very difficult for me. So what I did was, I never heard them. So when I came to commentate, I didn't know what they had said. So there were many occasions when I said something totally opposed to what they had said. But then that's giving another perspective to the viewer. There is nothing certain about cricket. There's no just one way of doing it. There's no just one way of analyzing what will happen next, or what the captain is thinking, or what he should think. So the idea is, the picture is speaking 90% of the game. You have to now add value to the picture. If you keep describing the picture all the time, you are then going to be just one of those other guys. Everybody can do that, So while there is value in describing technique, while there is value in describing how good he looked, how good he was positioned, how balanced he was, and all that, yes, of course, as part of that. But more than that, you've got to analyze what's going on in the game at the moment. What's the captain thinking? What's the batting captain thinking? What are the strategies at play? Why has he made this bowling change? Or should he have made this bowling change? A lot of other things that are not that very discernible. And it doesn't have to be what Gavaskar thinks. So that's important. For me, that was very important. And to be instinctive, to be there without too much preparation. Of course, you obviously think about the game and where it's at before you come into the next day of commentary, how you would approach it. So you spend about an hour preparing in that sense, that if you were captain, what were your thoughts? What are the bowling changes? Would you change the batting order? What would you do, and how were you positioned? What would be your advice as a coach? What would be your advice as a captain? All those things you put through in your mind, and then you're ready to commentate.
That's a really an interesting perspective, because again, for us, when you're watching from outside the game, we don't know the mindset of not just the commentators, but the production team. Like what is the approach they want to take? All we know is what we want to hear and what we expect to hear. And then it's just easy to, critique the commentator's job and say, well, they're not offering any value.
Okay, I'm just sort of interrupting you there. The other thing is, there is a big difference in doing commentary in Australia, as is different in West Indies, as is extremely different to do commentary in India and Pakistan. You know why? Because in India, it's a huge following. It's astronomical. And for the most part, it's very diverse. You're speaking also to the housewife fan who's never held a cricket ball in her life, who doesn't know what it weighs, he doesn't know how it feels. It's double Dutch to the housewife if I say, the mid-wicket should be wider. What the hell does that mean? While in England, the following is, I don't know the exact figures, but a lot more of people who understand the game more, who are connoisseurs, who are followers of the game. While in India, you have a cross-section. You have somebody who's watching it for the first time, and a huge amount of, lakhs of people who are probably watching their first game. And lakhs of people who don't understand the finer points of the game, but only hitting the ball, the viewership, the spectacle, the winning, the excitement of how close you are of a one-day international, 3 wickets, 14 balls, 18 runs, all that, So your job is to speak to all of them. So sometimes, although you as a connoisseur would be critical, why is stating the obvious here? But you're well advised. If you are a commentator for a television company, you have to increase viewership, not decrease it. So while it's not an easy thing to do, to keep in your mind that every time I come on air, I have to try and make sure that the guy who's hearing me comes back for the next match because he so enjoyed it. And so you have to, it's a cross section. It's educative, it's analytical, it's speaking the obvious, it's simplistic, and it's in depth. It's a real tough job if you view it like that. So you will always get a critical, viewership. Somebody will say, oh gosh, yeah, he just all the time states the obvious. And somebody will say, wow, yeah, look at him. He brought out this insight. So you've got to speak to every guy there. India's commentary is very tough.